Hi. So this morning has been quite the morning. I started the video and I realized halfway through it that I never turned it on. So I guess I didn't start it. Life is that way, isn't it? We start something or we go to do something and then we realize that it's just not happening. This morning I took the dog out for a walk, and as we're walking up the street, I happened to notice that there was a bull elk standing in a neighbor's driveway looking at us. Now, the dog didn't see it, but eventually when it did, it was quite startled and I'm sure was wondering what it was and wanted to go investigate it. The stance of the elk was, stay away from me, and I did. And sometimes in life, and we have to avoid temptation, we have to avoid things. Even though we may be curious about it, we need to avoid it. It reminds me that in the scriptures it says if you resist the devil, he will flee from you. Well, later I figured that elk would be behind my house eating the apples off the apple tree. And sure enough, it showed up and it was there. And so I went out and chased it, and it did. It ran off, just like our enemy, Satan, will flee. But the problem is, and we must understand that even in the spiritual realm, that just because we chase him off and just because he flees doesn't mean he won't come back. It's true in the natural as well. The elk, half an hour after I chased him off, came back. And there he was again, trying to get into the apples. And so I went out again and chased him off again. This time, though, there was a porcupine that had been up in the tree, came down, and both of them were running side by side up the hillside into the woods. I chuckled about that because sometimes, the porcupine remind me of the little foxes that spoil the vineyard. And sometimes we don't see them. Now, I had seen the porcupine in the tree, and it was up in the top, and it was eating away at the apples. Every year I get a porcupine or two that will come down and eat apples. And the problem is that it takes less apples away from me. I guess the point of my whole thing this morning is that what are you doing to protect yourself? What are you doing to resist the enemy? Are you willing to chase him, or are you curious as to what he's doing and why he's doing it? I turned on my electric fireplace this morning, not for the heat, and I didn't have the heat going, but I had it on for ambiance. My dog went over and tried to investigate what it was and growled at it and barked quietly at it as if, what is that thing? And I want to know more about it, but do I want to really? Sometimes in life, Satan entices us to come closer. We need to resist that, and he'll leave. I want you to think about that today, in what area of your life, maybe even today, you're being tempted. You're curious about something that you ought not to be curious about. God's already told you what to do with it. Think about that today, would you? Until next time, God bless.